Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services, including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various legal issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
You know, one of the great challenges that we have here as we talk about horror stories is that we have people who have, family relationships in Maryland. They have family relationships in Pennsylvania. And one of the ironies is that there's some strategies that might work in Pennsylvania that don't work in Maryland and vice versa.
Absolutely. And so each state is very rule specific. And so what your neighbor told you in Pennsylvania and you're now living in Maryland is probably not a good idea to engage in unless you're getting good counsel to know the pros and cons of doing that.
And one of the things we talk about every day, and we see this happening, unfortunately, is in Maryland there is no inheritance tax between parents and children. So typically you don't end up with an inheritance tax problem by adding a child's name and having somebody die in the wrong order, but that is going to happen in Pennsylvania.
Certainly, and so that inheritance tax is going to come out of the blue if you've got people on your deed and you have no way of controlling it. And some of those strategies where they were giving real estate or farms away in order to avoid an inheritance tax, well, Pennsylvania's turned around and shifted things to have just basically removed tax on certain assets. So now they've fallen into a capital gains trap unnecessarily.
And that's one of the things you have to understand. There is no blanket rules. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about taxes or whether we're talking about Medicaid or real property law or banking law. You have 50 states. All 50 states do it differently. And so even in the Medicaid taxing environment, a lot of stuff is somewhat similar state to state, but it's not exactly the same.
Exactly. And so some techniques work, some don't. And so it's really important for folks to sit down and go through the facts and work out the details and the pros and cons of any course of action.
Well, one of the common strategies we see people come through our office every day is say, well, I'm going to transfer my house to my kids and retain the right to live in it in my lifetime. I can avoid probate, I can avoid taxes. Everybody knows that is the perfect thing to do. Well, the reality is in a specific set of facts it could work. But if you don't have that specific set of facts, it can turn into a real problem.
Right, and you've just given up control, and not only that, potentially create a tax problem if you do need to sell, and even if everybody cooperates and signs off on that deed, some children are going to potentially be taxed unnecessarily.
Well, then you have another issue here. So, yeah, but I heard you can do that in a way in which you can retain the right to sell the property so it's dead perfect. Well, the Medicaid with no right to sell the the life estate with no right to sell the property could work for Medicaid purposes, but the right to sell the property means it doesn't work for Medicaid. It's treated as if it's the parent's property. Anyway.
Exactly. And so, again, it comes down to that verbiage, and if you have total control, it's your asset. And if you can revoke it, just like a revocable trust, it's your asset.
But then we have problems here. We've transferred a married couple's house. We did the life estate because we thought mom was headed to the nursing home in 2 years. Now we have a penalty transfer. We have a period of ineligibility for benefits. With a married couple, that house would have been automatically protected.
Yeah, and that's what I think folks don't understand in many cases, is that the house is that special asset that can be moved after admission. There are no penalties, no liens, no nothing.
As long as it's between married couples.
Between married couples, and it has no consequences. Once you give it away, now there are huge consequences, and they're all negative.
Yeah, and so as we work with families, our business is asset protection, but our business is also making sure that our clients are secure. You know, as we work with security, you know, you have a family that has a house that's worth a couple $100,000, $100,000 in the bank, and they have not yet resolved in-home care. They've not yet resolved assisted living or cottages or apartments. That means at some point in time, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, totally unrelated to the nursing home, they may have to dispose of that house in order to continue taking care of themselves the rest of their lives. And if you got kids' names on the house, you got a problem.
Yeah, you got tax problems, you got control problems, and it just takes away from that family's or that couple's security. Whereas that's a huge asset that can really provide that long-term care and supports to keep them safe and secure, and they can still leave an inheritance to their family if that's important to them.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to a special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Taylor Oliver, president of Oliver Homes. Welcome to the show, Taylor.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate being here.
Now, your company's been around a little while.
That's correct. We actually started building homes in 1948, so we've been in business for about 69 years now, and been busy, built about 2,800 homes now, and keep being consistent and keep working at it.
One of the interesting things about Oliver Homes, and it's, you know, and I admit I was guilty of this. I was out and met with your dad, you know, close to 40 years ago, and he was showing me construction techniques that today are the norm, but then were considered avant-garde and in fact considered substandard because it was considered modular homes when in fact it was really building homes in a controlled environment that gave you much better quality control.
Yes, we have been doing the panelized construction wall panels for obviously years and years, which is really right on the forefront of how all that's done now. So that idea of actually going out on the site and building panels and standing them up and those types of things, those panels are built ahead of time in a controlled environment, and they're all...
Rain doesn't affect it, you know, the person freezing to death doesn't affect it.
It's a much better situation. It makes it a lot better for the consumer, and the panels are, you know, they're built on an area where everything is perfectly straight, and it just works much easier.
And so as a result of which, you know, it's much more predictable because you're not going to lose many days to weather days and that sort of thing because of the fact you can work in even when the weather's terrible.
Correct, and then actually the other thing that is nice about that, we're able to get houses actually when they're on site up under roof more quickly, which means that they're protected from the weather much quicker than what they would otherwise.
And part of the reason I wanted to talk about that is not so much to talk about building new homes, because a lot of our community, the retirement community, is not that interested in new homes, although sometimes downsizing they are. But one of the other things that you did is you've just constantly, as a company, focused on advancing construction techniques that are in the interest of the consumer. One of them in particular that you've been in the forefront of is energy efficiency. Everybody talks about it today, but that's been a hallmark of your company for a long time.
Yes, it has. We've been very much in the forefront of that. I mean, I remember years ago we'd do exterior walls at R11, and then they went to R13 and R19, and now our exterior walls are an R21, and we use 2x6 exterior studding. You know, we use, in essence, R49 insulation in the attic, and you know, it's just the houses are much better sealed. We're doing all, actually, all of the joints and everything are all sealed, so for air infiltration, those types of things, and that's just a real positive. I hear people, you know, they've moved to a bigger home and their electric bill or energy bills are less than what they were previously from the previous home.
Now we're going to pull some pictures up here, but you've been in the forefront not only on new construction, but you will actually help people, you know, insulate and improve the quality of their current home. So what's happening here?
Well, in this particular picture here, we're just seeing where a lot of people have weather stripping around their doors that, in essence, it just needs to be replaced. I mean, you know, you've opened and shut a door.
5, 7, 8, 10 years, but it's done.
You've opened that door so many times, and it just needs replaced. Same thing here. We can see this is just the bottom of a window where that caulking is cracked. It allows for air to get into that area if it just gets recaulked, and it's an easy, quick, inexpensive fix.
So there's just no reason not to go around and take a look at that. But you know, this little incremental consumption of energy at every level. This is kind of a classics 1970 construction insulation.
Correct. I mean, you can see all the bottom cords of the trusses, and in most instances, if you can see those bottom cords like we see in this picture right here, you need more insulation in your attic.
All right, so if you would have had this house here, this is what it would look like when you were done. This is the actual same house.
Same house, and you can see right away, you get another 6 or 8 inches of blown insulation put in there. You're going to pay for that expense to blow that insulation in maybe 2 years at the most, something like that. So from a cost standpoint, putting insulation in that attic is the #1 thing that people can do.
And this is a huge consumer of energy right here.
That's correct. The hot water heater there, and that's just one of the little blankets that you can buy at any of the stores that, you know, they may cost you $20 or $30, and in a year you'll pay for that blanket. And all it is a matter of putting the blanket around the hot water heater. You do some tape, and you're going to save money.
And of course, you know, you've been a big proponent on, you know, adjusting to LED lighting and
Correct.
so forth. You know, people don't realize how much that saves as well.
It does save, no question.
And Taylor, we always talk about your work on handicapped accessibility. So if somebody needs that, how could they get a hold of you?
They can call at our office. We're right out on the Leitersburg Pike, and our number is 301-797-0000.
And you do 3 states.
That's correct. That's correct. We're in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Taylor, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on our program.
Thank you, Mike.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquillity at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquillity, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquillity at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Come on, Dad, let's go! We're gonna be late! Hurry!
Just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com. If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Bridget Keefe, Community Relations Director at Tranquillity of Fredericktown. Welcome to the show, Bridget.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
You know, Bridget, when we talk about, you know, trying to keep people independent, there's always this perception that if you move out of your house, you're losing independence.
It's true. A lot of senior citizens balk at the whole idea. They don't want to give up choices. They don't want to give up their independence at all.
And one of the great challenges that we have here is that people don't realize the amount of effort that it takes to maintain a house. It must be continuously done. I recently had a meeting with a building inspector in a local community, and as we went down the street, he said the houses that were not in good repair were not the houses that were occupied by poor people. It was the houses occupied by senior citizens.
Right, and they just can't do it all anymore. Buying groceries, maintaining your house, paying your bills, taking your medicines, all that. It's a lot of pressure on a person.
And then oftentimes being on a fixed income, there's this perception that I don't want to invest money in the house. I don't see any reason for it. And as a result of which we find that from a business side, which we're involved in, that they are significantly deteriorating the value of their property by this perceived independence.
Right, and again, your house becomes a prison. And when you don't take care of it, it's even worse.
Yeah, and oftentimes people think that, if I go to an assisted living facility, I'm going to be with the old folks. And I actually characterize in my practice that most of my 80-year-old clients are 21-year-olds trapped in an 80-year-old body.
It's true. Nobody wants to think that they're old. And many of them, it's true, look around and say, well, I'm not like them.
Well, and the answer is that they're not old. It's their body breaking down around them. And so, unfortunately, if you don't begin to compensate for that loss of capacity, you're putting yourself at risk.
You are putting yourself at physical risk and mental risk, too. You're having your memory decline.
Because as people sit and watch television with no social interaction whatsoever, it's fairly well documented that that's not good for their mental health.
Right. The days blend one into the next, and there's just no really, as you said, social stimulation at all.
And if we thought television was bad 20 years ago, you've seen nothing compared to what it is today.
Right.
And so you engage people, keep them active. It actually improves the quality of their lives.
It does. Laughing is the best medicine. We make sure they laugh, we make sure they exercise, and we make sure they have their peers that they can talk to every day.
All right, we're going to bring up a couple of pictures here.
Okay.
Tranquillity is a residential style facility. And what I mean by that is you have your own apartment, you have your own bathrooms, you have your own privacy. It's not a question that you're being deprived of your independence.
Not at all. We feel like we're enhancing independence.
Can you have a car?
You can have a car if the state says you can still drive.
How about can you have pets?
You can have pets, yes, and we'll even help you take care of them.
And so as we look here, we're engaging in some activities here. I am not a frustrated painter, so this gentleman obviously a lot better than me.
Yes, he is a very good painter.
And so it looks to me like you don't have to give up the cocktail hour just because you're there.
What happens at Tranquillity stays at Tranquillity, Mike. No, you don't have to give up any of that. Yeah.
And so, every night there is the potential of having a little happy hour and that people can participate.
They start at 4, actually.
Because I know there's this perception that if I go there, I'm not going to be able to partake of my glass of wine.
No, and you can even keep it in your apartment in your refrigerator. Many people do.
And then, of course, this thing about smoking, but actually your facility accommodates that as well.
It does, yeah. All your bad habits you can maintain at Tranquillity.
But not in the public area.
Not in the public area, outside, not in your apartment. Because we do have people on oxygen, so.
Right. And of course, there are people that are allergic to it and realize secondhand smoke it's okay if you're determined to do it, but it's not okay to impose it on anybody else.
Exactly.
And of course, it's medically supervised, so you have people at every level making sure they're safe and they're being appropriately medicated.
We do from our geriatric physician all the way down to caregivers, 24 hours a day.
And eating.
Eating 3 meals a day. No one misses a meal. We make sure even people with dementia are reminded that it's meal time. So we have people that gain 30 pounds, which they need to gain when they come in our doors, which is good.
And getting hydrated.
Getting hydrated and maintaining hydration. It's really important.
And of course, most important now is that some of the physical and occupational therapy that was not available in assisted living even as recent as 5 years ago is available.
It is. In fact, you can get therapy 4 times a week, and Medicare Part A covers it.
So how could somebody find out more about Tranquillity?
They can pop in. We're right on Jefferson Pike, 6441, or they can call me at 301-668-6030.
Try that a little slower.
301-668-6030.
Bridget, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on
Thank
the program.
you.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation has helped create signs of community strength for more than 30 years. Scholarships assist with post-secondary education, and grants support programs throughout Frederick County. Making a big impact. Because of generous donors like you. Add your sign of community strength by creating a fund that supports the causes you care about.
Albright, Crumbacher, Mal & Eitel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services, including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. Making Sense focuses on the financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Pete Alexander, an accountant in the regional accounting firm of Albright, Crumbacher, Mal & Eitel, with offices in Hagerstown, Martinsburg, West Virginia. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Great to be here, Mike.
Pete, we talked a little bit last week about a great fear that almost everybody comes into our office has, that they're going to pay this massive federal estate tax.
Yeah, as you said, people are used to what their parents had to go through. They remember all the planning that their parents had to go through. And the important thing to understand is a few years ago, the federal government raised the estate tax deduction, meaning that if you don't have over $5 million when you pass away, and that's indexed for inflation, so it's a little above $5.4 million now. If you don't have over that amount when you pass away, you are going to be exempt. Not only can you have that amount, but your spouse can have that amount. Whatever you don't use, your spouse can use. And then as we also talked about, Maryland, Florida has always followed the feds. A few years ago, Maryland decided they were going to phase in matching the feds. So we have no Maryland estate tax.
So around 2020, we're estimating everybody's going to have around a $6 million exemption.
Exactly right. And that means, and the only thing left then is the local inheritance tax. And the local inheritance tax is not levied on inheritance going down to linear descendants, kids, grandkids, and the such.
Well, let's kind of talk about that. In no state in our viewing area, taxes transfers between husband and wife.
Correct. All states, all transfers between husband and wife, alive or dead, is a tax-free transfer.
And transfers at the federal level between husband and wife, no tax.
No tax. You can always transfer between husband and wife.
Period. Zip, nada, nada.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you've heard. Zip,
that's right.
Nada, nada.
You cannot find a way to make that taxable.
All right. So now when it goes to children, though, we, in our viewing area, we have 4 states, and 2 of those states, the Virginia states, don't tax inheritances going to children at all.
Correct.
And then we have Maryland, which also does not tax going to children, but does have a little variation on estate tax, which we previously said is in the process of going away.
Right. Maryland has an estate tax, but that estate tax is going to match the federal, meaning that, as you said, in another 5 years, it's going to be up to about $6 million each husband and wife.
It's currently $3 million, but it's evolving up, and the estimates of the Register of Wills is more than 98% are not going to have $3 million, so it's not going to be taxable.
But it's already passed into the law that it's going to equal the feds.
Right. And then we have Pennsylvania that does have a little quirky inheritance tax.
Yeah, Pennsylvania does. I mean, you think of Pennsylvania, as a low-tax state. When you think of Pennsylvania, you think everybody that is in the local area wants to retire to PA, because everyone knows that PA does not tax not only Social Security, but they don't tax IRA income or pension income. They only tax interest, dividends, and different types of earned income.
And so if you had earned income, you were still working at Walmart or whatever, you would still have something.
You'd still have some income tax, but even that tax rate was about half of Maryland, half of West Virginia. So a lot of people have always viewed Pennsylvania as a tax haven, as I said, as of seniors, because seniors do not pay any income tax, not only on Social Security, but on pensions and IRAs in PA.
But there's a little quirk here. How about inheritance tax in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, unfortunately, Pennsylvania they don't follow the feds in a lot of things. They have their own income taxation, they have their own way of taxing everything, and that includes the estate tax. They basically have an inheritance tax. I believe it's 4.5%.
To parents to children.
From parents to children. They actually
and
have
15% to non-lineals.
To non-lineals. So PA does have a different tax. PA is quirky in all of their tax codes. The thing to remember when you're retired and thinking about moving to PA is Maryland does exempt a lot of retirement income. Maryland exempts your Social Security income, and Maryland will exempt up to your Social Security and pension income up to about $18,500 for husband and wife. So you do need to run the numbers, because you may have a small pension. It may be tax-free in Maryland, but you may have some real estate or stocks that if you pass away, you may end up losing 4.5% of those. So it's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, one of the things we talk to people about every day is there is no just do answer. Every single jurisdiction has advantages and disadvantages, and my basic advice to most of my clients is figure out where you're the happiest, live there, and it'll probably all balance out in the end.
Yeah, and if you want to know where the taxes are, you have to calculate it for your particular circumstance. Don't go off the fact that your neighbor or a friend of yours was better off moving or staying put. If you actually care that much about the actual dollars and cents, you have to calculate it for you. Their assets may be made up of something totally different than your asset base. They may be leaving it to other people that aren't linear descendants, and maybe you're leaving it all to your kids. So you need to pay attention to all of that if you actually want to make the calculation.
So in your experience, as we wrap up, any just do answers?
No just do answers. Maybe if you're a Nike commercial, just do it. But if you're not a Nike commercial, you need to do the calculation, you need to do the homework.
Pete, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Great to be here, Mike.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.